بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. So we're just going to do a brief session on تعبير القرآني, or on chapter 2, both class 4 and class 5. So we're going to try and cover as much as we can from both these two different classes of chapter 2. I don't have an idea of how I'm going to do this, so I don't know if you guys want us to do the i'rab, so we go paragraph by paragraph. Of course, that will take longer, or maybe you have specific paragraphs that we can look at so that we can save a little bit of time. I don't know. What do you guys think? What should we do here? Because class 4 has, these are 10 pages.
If I may suggest,
Yes.
In my mind, I thought we do one para, maybe one large para that does not have any of the ayat of the Quran, and because we want to do Arab, not translation, because we've already done the translation and now we know the words. So we're looking at it from a purely grammatical perspective.
Okay, so yeah, that's something we can do. So we can pick, for example, like there's this big paragraph here that doesn't have any ayats of the Quran. We can start from there, and we just pick and choose. I think that would be a good way to go. Just pick and choose paragraphs as we go on. And if you have some extra time, we'll go back to whatever. All right, so let's look at this paragraph, for example. So it says, والمعنى أن الشيطان يريد أن يضلهم. So we're going to pause there first and tackle this first part. So when you're reading this, the number one question you need to ask yourself is, what kind of a sentence am I dealing with? جملة فعلية or جملة اسمية? So that's the first question. So when I read this, والمعنى أن الشيطان يريد أن يضلهم, what kind of a sentence do you think that is?
جملة اسمية.
Yeah, so this is a jumla ismiya because ma'na is meaning, is a masdar. So this is an idea and it's an ism. Okay, so you have wal ma'na. So when I'm looking at a jumla ismiya, I know that a couple of things that I'm looking for. I'm looking for a mubtada, I'm looking for a khabar, I'm looking for a muta'alliq bil khabar. At least these are the things I'm looking for. So the first question I ask myself, okay, so what is a khabar, what is a mubtada, and what is a khabar? Okay, so what do you guys think?
My brain left mana behind and jumped right to Anna Shaitan. Because I could see this was harf nasab and I could see the ism Anna. And so I assume that Ma'ana would be Mubtada 1 and Anna Shaitana would be Mubtada 2.
Yeah, that's a way to look at it. Or an easier way to actually look at such complex structures, you can just say, okay, this is the first ism that I'm seeing. It's rafa, even though it doesn't show rafa, because this kind of, it's ism manqus. And when you have an ism manqus, most likely it doesn't show the ending. Sorry, this is not manqus, this is maqsoor, ism maqsoor. So it doesn't, it's like this whether it's nasab, rafa, or jar. So if it's the first one and it looks like this, I'm just going to assume it's rafa. So that's going to be my mubtada. Then now after I've found my mubtada, the second question I need to ask myself, where's my khabar? Now, when I look at what comes after is another sentence, right? So that means, that tells me the whole thing then, whatever comes after that is going to be my khabar to the mubtada, okay? So now I enter into the mubtada, into the khabar, and then I ask myself, okay, what's happening inside this khabar? So now what I know is, this is my mubtada and this is my khabar. That means here I'm going to put is. Wal ma'na is this. Okay, all of this is al-ma'na. The meaning is this. Okay, now we come into the khabar. Now into the khabar, like you mentioned, you have anna, which is, we treat it as mubtada. And of course, ash-shaytana would be the ism of anna. So this becomes my other mubtada, or mubtada number 2. or inside the bracket, this is going to be my mubtada number 1. And then I ask myself, okay, now what's the khabar to my mubtada? And then I look at the sentence, I look at what comes after, and I see another sentence. So I'm going to say, okay, another bracket here. See, that's why Arabs were smart, because it's just mathematics. You have to put so many brackets. Like you look what is in the bracket and multiply and add and subtract. Yeah, this is the Arabic language. So now you have another bracket, which is another jumla. And this other bracket is going to be my khabar. So we can say this khabar 1, this is khabar 2, this is M1, this is M2. Okay. So now, again, I go inside khabar number 2. So what I'm doing here is that I'm going to put another is here. Okay. So that's basically what's happening. And then I go inside khabar 2 and I see another jumla. But this time, yuridu an yudillahum. What kind of sentence is that? Yeah. So now I'm looking at a jumla fi'liya. Now I'm not looking at mubtada khabar anymore. Now I'm looking at fi'l, fa'il, maf'ul, and muta'alliq. Right? So I know yuridu, this is my fi'l. Okay, I have my fi'l. I have to ask myself, who is the fa'il? Now yuridu is the huwa version, which means I can look afterwards to see if there's an outside doer. But then I don't see anything rafa outside. So I say, okay, the fa'il is the inside pronoun huwa. Okay, that's done. Then I look ahead and I see an yudillahum. What kind of structure is an yudillahum? An plus mudara. What kind of structure is that?
It gives master.
Yes. So this is a masdar, basically. It's a compound ism that behaves like a masdar. Yuridu idlalahum. That would be the masdar. If you replace idlal with an yudillahum, that would be what's happening there. So now I have to ask myself, okay, now what role is it playing in the sentence? Is it a maf'ul bihi, maf'ul fihi, maf'ul lahu? What kind of maf'ul is it? And if it's not a maf'ul, then what else is it? So what do you guys think? What kind of a word would this? Yuridu, this. He wants this. What would be this? And yudillahum. What does he want? What kind of question is it answering? Yuridu, he wants to misguide them. So what kind of a question? Yeah. So what question is it answering? Is it answering what? Yeah. So this is answering what? And because it's answering what, we know this is going to be our maf'ul bihi. That's basically how you handle these sentences. All sentences, you just break them down like this, and it becomes really easy when you figure out the i'rab. So let's go to the next one. ثم يريدهم بعد ذلك أن يظلوا هم بأنفسهم. Again, we're going to stop here and take it bit by bit. So ثم, what kind of word is ثم?
No grammatical impact.
Yeah, this is a harf ataf. So we're just going to skip it because it's continuing. It's joining this sentence to that previous sentence. ثم, then what? Now we look at what's coming ahead. يريدهم بعد ذلك. What do we see? What kind of a sentence is this? فعلية, اسمية? فعلية. Because you see a فعل, you know this جملة فعلية. So again, four things we're looking for. We're looking for the فعل, the فاعل, the مفعول, the متعلق, and anything else that we can find. Okay? So you have يريدهم. So يريد, of course, that would be our فعل. And then we ask ourselves, what would be the fa'il? Because it's the huwa version, we can look ahead. But if we don't see anything that looks like a fa'il, or if it doesn't make sense, if we try and translate it, doesn't make sense to have an outside doer, then we're going to say, okay, fine. The pronoun is, the fa'il is the inside pronoun, huwa. He wants. Okay? It's not something else that wants. It's he wants. So yuriduhum. Then we have hum. What kind of?
I have a question here.
Yes.
So Baba Zalika obviously is not Rafa, so that cannot be a file. Then I moved on to Yadillu hum.
Yadallu.
Yadallu. And Yadallu seemed like it was Rafa.
Okay, So أن يظل, what kind of a structure? We just talked about this. أن
That's
يظل.
the masdar structure. Yeah, that's a
So-
masdar structure.
Yeah, so that's just one bucket
So-
right there.
Yeah, so can that not be, this bucket cannot be the file?
So you ask yourself, what makes sense? أن يظل, that they misguide. So they misguide once. Does that make sense? Like
They
their
misguide
misguidance once?
No.
Yeah,
No, it
exactly.
doesn't make sense when you do the translation. So we can't
Yeah.
just leave the translation behind.
No, you can't. Because you have to
Both of
make
them
sense
have
at
to
the end
go-
of the day. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
they have to go hand in
Okay.
hand. Yeah. Yeah, that's important because you can't, when you're doing Arab, it has to make sense at the end of the day. I mean, yeah, if you're just doing Arab for the sake of Arab, you can say, okay, fine, maybe this one is fi mahali rafa, and so it's misguidance once, them after that. But at the end of the day, making sense is also important, and being able to understand the text or being able to understand what the author is saying. Okay. So it's not just doing Arab for the sake of doing Arab. All right. That's a good question, right? Good. So whom, that should be automatic. When you see an attached pronoun, it can either be two things. If it's attached to an ism, it's going to be مضاف إليه. If it's attached to a fi'l, it's going to be sorry guys, my internet these days is a bit iffy. Oh, need to fix it. Okay, so let me share that again. Okay. So yeah, we were discussing يريدهم, and I was saying that if you see an attached pronoun whom, it's either going to be one or two things. It's going to be a مضاف إليه if it's attached to an ism, or it's going to be a مفعول به if it's attached to a fi'l. So here we have a fi'l, يريد, which means the whom is going to be what?
Will be.
Yeah. So this is going to be a مفعول به. And then you have بعد. Okay, بعد, what kind of a word is بعد?
Special method.
Special mudaf. And we know if you have a special mudaf in a sentence, what is it going to be?
متعلق بالفعل.
Yes, متعلق. So we have بعد, of course that's a mudaf, and of course ذلك will be its mudaf إليه. Okay, and this is going to be our MBF. متعلق بالفعل. Okay, now you have أن يظل. Now you have to ask yourself, okay, so I have a fi'l, I have a مفعول به that's attached to يريد, and then I have متعلق بالفعل, but then I have something else, أن يظل. What kind of a question is it answering? He wants them after that to something. What question is it answering? He wants them after that to something. To do something. أن يظل, to be misguided themselves. So what question is it answering? If you are to remove everything else, if you're to remove all this, whatever is in between, and you just said يريد أن يظل, he wants their misguidance. What question is it answering?
So it's who?
Yeah.
He wants.
Yeah, it's a مفعول به. Because it answers what? What does he want? He wants their misguidance. He wants them to be misguided. That's what he wants. So it answers what question? So that means this is another مفعول به. So this is a مفعول به too في محل نسب. The whole thing, the whole structure أن يظل. Okay? Then you have whom. Now this is something not really a مفعول به. This is basically grammatically what we would call تأكيد or توكيد. It's an emphasis.
Oh yes.
What it's doing is just emphasizing the fact that he wants them themselves. It's like when I say in English, I want you yourself. I haven't said anything new. I've just said you, and then I've said yourself, right? So this is like that structure. He wants them themselves to be misguided. Like be أنفسهم. And again, he has another like emphasis. So this basically you just call it a tawkid.
And it can be removed, but it's there for emphasis, like Ustad said.
Sorry?
And tawkid can be removed, but it's there for emphasis.
Exactly. Yeah, you can do away with it. You can just say يريدهم بعد ذلك أن يظلوا بأنفسهم. It's not serving any grammatical purposes other than emphasis. Okay.
So hum and bi anfusihim are both for tawkid.
Yeah, you can say بأنفسهم basically. Well, but because it's harf jar and it's ism, we're gonna say it's another متعلق. Okay, but this, yeah. So we're gonna say this is another متعلق.
bi anfusihim is a muta'alliq, we say, but the
Yes.
hum is tawkid.
Yes.
And is a mark of a double, like there's them or hum inside yudillu, yeah.
Yes.
Yudillu.
Yes.
There's a hum inside there, and there's a hum after it. So I'm trying to get through a formula, but is that always tawkid?
I can't really say that will. I don't know if it's a formula, honestly, but sometimes then if you just see like it's you would actually, if you try and translate it, you feel the translation, like what the author is trying to say is putting some emphasis there. And if you remove it, the sentence still kind of makes sense. It doesn't change anything in the sentence. If it doesn't change anything, like if you remove it, if for example, if it was a mubtada and a khabar, if you remove the mubtada, then the khabar will not make sense. So you know this one is not tawkid. But if you remove this, أن يظلوا بأنفسهم, it's a complete sentence. There's no change in it. So that's how I would look at it. Yeah. And sometimes you have pronouns like this, munfasil, independent pronouns that just come in between, maybe, ismul ishara. Most of the time you have this pronoun coming in. So at that time, it just serves as a point of separating the two, where to know where the mubtada is and where the khabar is. So sometimes it serves different purposes. So I can't really think of a formula right now as far as this structure is concerned. Okay.
Because like here, hum is already within yadallu.
Yes.
So then they have given more hum for extra emphasis.
Exactly.
Because if you remove this hum, it will not make any difference.
Exactly.
The meaning will stay same.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how you can look at it. Yeah. Okay, good. So that's basically that structure. Then you have فالشيطان يبدأ المرحلة وهم يتمونها. So فالشيطان يبدأ المرحلة وهم يتمونها. So of course we have فالشيطان. What does that mean?
Is
Mubtada?
Yes. So you have a mubtada. And that means whatever comes after that, we're going to look at it as our khabar. We're going to say this whole thing is the big khabar for that mubtada. Okay? We're going to say that whole thing. And then inside that khabar, what do we have? We have يبدأ.
Fail.
Yes. So that's a jumla fi'liya. يبدأ جملة فعلية. So this is going to be my fi'l. And now here's the thing. Once you figure out the person doing the thing, so فالشيطان, he is the doer. يبدأ, so obviously he's going to be the fa'il. But the dhamir that is being used here is the huwa. So the fa'il is the inside pronoun huwa. So فالشيطان and shaitan, he. So now we are inside the bracket. So he يبدأ, he begins المرحلة. What does that mean? If you see المرحلة, yeah. So this is a maf'ul bihi. Because it answers the question, what? What does he begin?
What?
And then wahum, what kind of a sentence when you see wa and followed by a pronoun like that? وهم يتمون. Yes, this is واو حالية. So now we know that whatever sentence follows it after is going to be حال. Okay, so this whole sentence is the حال of this فعل. Right? And then, of course, inside that حال, we have هم, which is, yeah. And then that فعل again is going to be a خبر. So that جملة فعلية inside there is going to be في محل رفع خبر. So this is how you break down this stuff. If you break it like this, do you see how easy it becomes? So now I know I'm going to put in my invisible is here. But then I'm going to try and translate it with the is. It might not make sense. So I'm going to say, and shaitan is, he begins. So you see, it doesn't make sense. So I'm just going to say, okay, and shaitan begins. Skip all the is to make sense in the sentence.
Sister Lam, actually I got a little rusty on my concepts. Can you just help me in reminding how this waw is like, how we'll come to know, is this waw halia or waw ataf?
Okay, so it can be, you can say it's also waw ataf, but most of the time when you see waw followed by a pronoun, okay, and an independent pronoun, وأنت تذهب وأنت تبكي وهم يعلمون وهي تضحك. So if you see waw plus a pronoun and then something else followed after that, like a complete sentence after that, then that's going to be waw hali. So a waw plus an independent. Sometimes you can even have a waw and followed by a jumla fi'liya, and it can be a waw haliya. Or if you see, the other thing I think is waqad. Also, if you see waqad, that's going to be a jumla haliya. Or if you see two verbs together. So, جاء يبكي. He came crying. So يبكي, جاء is a verb. يبكي is also a verb. So if you have two verbs together like that, the second one is going to be a hal of the first one. So those are some of just the, examples of hal.
Such kind of waw will mostly come after this maf'ul, right? If it's a waw hali.
The thing about hal is it comes most of the time after the sentence is over. Like if you take it away, the sentence still makes sense. For example, if I say he came, it's a complete sentence. We have a fi'l and a fa'il. But if I say he came crying, you see crying is the hal. It came after the sentence. So most of the time you see the sentence is complete, then you have a hal. Like in this case, الشيطان يبدأ المرحلة. Shaitan, he begins the marhala, I don't know how UJ translated marhala, or how we translated, but basically he begins for them, and then while they finish it. I hope that's clear. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And then maybe just while we're on the subject, fa, I'm sure you've read this text and you've seen so many fas. Like it's almost everywhere. Every after 2 words, there's a fa. So fa has different functions. Most of the time, it just begins a new clause or a new sentence. So you see like here, فَالشَّيْطَانُ, this is beginning a new sentence. It's telling you, okay, this is a new sentence. That's why we're looking at it as a mubtada. Here again, فَهُوَ, again, just a new sentence. So you see that you just have to be able to distinguish. Okay, so فهو يريد منهم المشاركة في أن يبتدعوا الضلال ويذهبوا فيه كل مذهب. So we're going to go all the way up to there. It's a longer sentence. Let's see what we can be able to get. Okay, so فهو, what is هو?
Mubtada.
Yeah, exactly. So هو, it's an independent pronoun. There's nothing before it. So that's definitely our mubtada. And it's in rafa' form because it's independent pronoun. So that's our mubtada. Which means whatever comes after it, we're going to look at it as a khabar. The whole thing, we're going to look at it as a khabar. And then we're going to go inside that khabar and ask ourselves, okay, what's happening inside this big sentence? يريد منهم المشاركة في أن يبتدع الضلال. Okay. We'll go up to there and then we'll connect. Exactly. جملة فعلية. So يريد, again, this is our فعل. فاعل is the inside pronoun because we're still talking about شيطان. So هو inside pronoun. يريد منهم. What kind of structure is that? Yes.
It's مضاف إليه.
منهم. من حرف جار.
No, it's جار مجرور. Sorry, جار مجرور متعلق بالفعل.
جار مجرور متعلق بالفعل. المشاركة.
مفعول به.
Yes. What does he want? He wants المشاركة. Okay. في أن يبتدع. So we have أن يبتدع. Again, we've already talked about this structure here. So when you see this structure, you just basically combine it. And you look at it as one word. Okay. So في would be half jar. And this, whatever comes after it, will be في محل جر اسم مجرور. So this is connected. So this is one structure, which is what? في. Yes. So this is another متعلق بالفعل. Maybe you can call it two. You see how things are coming together?
Yes.
Yeah. And then you go inside. So this is acting as an ism. Okay. This is acting as an ism, and sometimes we talked about how certain isms, they can take مفعول بهs. Yeah. So this is one of those cases. So when you look at an ism like this, a masdar. Masdar is one of the isms that can take a مفعول به. Okay. So you ask yourself, okay, so what is this word that is coming after this masdar? This compound ism, masdar mu'awwal. Then most likely it's going to be its مفعول. Okay. And يبتدع to invent or to come up with something, like, you know, bid'ah, the same root words as يبتدع. Yes, Saima?
Sister, what is masdar muawwal?
Oh, sorry. Masdar mu'awwal is a fancy Arabic word for this structure. We called it compound ism, was it, I think, or complex.
Ustad used to call them an plus mudare.
Yes, an plus mudare. Yeah, so when I say masdar mu'awwal, basically it's an plus mudare. That's how you will see it in books, in Arabic books. An plus mudare, that's the structure. Or it's not necessarily an, it could be another harf plus mudare. But since we learned an plus mudare, let's just stick to that. So you have different kinds of masdar mu'awwal. It could be ma plus mudare. That could also, like, we learned about ma masdariya. You remember that? So ma masdariya plus mudare is going to form a structure called masdar mu'awwal. Same concept.
Means any mudare, when it comes with a certain harfs, we have learned an, but there are other harfs also. So
Yes.
that masdar is known as masdar muawwal, which is
Exactly.
actually not a masdar, but for translation, we will use it. We can use it also as a masdar. Like we can translate it as a two. Yabda'u means they started. They start. They all
Generate
start.
or make up or yeah. يبتدع. This is not يبدع. This is يبتدع. ابتدع يبتدع. Yes. So this, you can actually replace this with ابتداعا. So المشاركة في ابتداعي. You see how that just fits in perfectly there. Yeah. And of course,
Masdar can. Sorry, just one question. And masdar muawwal can or cannot have a maf'ul bihi.
It can. Like in this case, it just took one. Like this is the
Sorry,
maf'ul.
I meant it's not necessary for it to have a maf'ul bihi, but it can have one.
Yeah, just like a normal masdar. Just like when you have a masdar, like if I replaced here the normal masdar, it's not necessary that it will have a maf'ul bihi, but it can. Like just the way an isim fa'il doesn't necessarily have to have a maf'ul bihi, but it can. Sometimes it can take a maf'ul bihi. Same concept. Okay. So that's basically that structure up to there. So we have waw. Of course, waw is a harf atuf. And this wow is of course connecting this sentence back to the previous sentence.
So this would be a
ويذهب
hal? Sorry.
no, because it's not followed by a pronoun or a جملة اسمية. It's actually followed by a جملة فعلية. So this is
but
just
Juma
حرف
failure
عطف.
can. Okay.
Yeah. So most of the time you look back to the sentence and ask yourself, okay, so where is the فعل? Because this one, when you see a حرف عطف followed by a فعل, most likely it's connecting back to a previous فعل that was mentioned. Or if you see حرف عطف and then you have maybe a certain structure, it's going to be connecting back to that structure, the same structure that was mentioned before. Okay. So here, I'm trying to think if that's the case here or if this is different. يريد منهم المشاركة في أن يتبعوا الضلالة. Yeah. Yeah, so you see يبتدعوا is a فعل that was mentioned there. So يذهب, you see why it's light. Again, it just tells you exactly how it's connected or where it is connected to. Because there's no reason for this verb to be light. Should have been يذهبون, right? You see that? So that gives you a clue to where it, to which word it is معطوف to. So you see N made this word light, يبتدعوا, and therefore, because يذهب goes back to يبتدع, it also became light. So the sentence actually is يريد منهم المشاركة في أن يبتدعوا وأن يذهبوا. You see, so there's like a hidden أن here that is working on يذهبوا as well, just because it is معطوف there.
Sister Ilham, what is the haraka on dalal? An yabtadu dalal
Dalal.
or dalal?
طلالة. Because the question is أن يبتدعوا ماذا? To generate what? So whenever you have that question what, it's always going to be a مفعول به. When you have a question why, it's going to be a مفعول له. If you have a question where, it's going to be a مفعول فيه. Yeah? So that's how you figure things out. Okay?
So an yabtadiu, it acts as a masdar, but that does not mean it'll be, it'll be treated as what is called as like
Ism.
mudaf there.
No.
Mhm.
مضاف? I don't understand.
Like masdar, it'll be treated as masdar, but still it'll be having qualities of fi'l itself.
Because
it won't acquire the qualities of masdar, right?
no, because at the end of the day, it's still a fi'l. It didn't transform into an ism. Yeah, so it's still a fi'l. Okay. So yeah, exactly. We can't say that this one is the maf'ul, this is the mudaf ilay to this masdar.
Yeah, dalali. We cannot say dalali, it's dalala.
No. Yes, because it's the maf'ul bihi. Okay. So يذهب, again another fi'l here. Okay. So now we have to ask ourselves, who is the fa'il? What do you guys think? Hum. Yeah. So you can see the wow. It was يذهبون. It became light. بحذف النون. The noon went away. So now you have يذهبوا. So hum is the inside pronoun, is the fa'il. فيه. Whatever structure is فيه.
متعلق بالفعل.
Yes.
جار مجرور.
جار مجرور متعلق بالفعل. كل مذهب. Exactly. مضاف إليه, which means that is a what? When you have a مضاف إليه. Is another متعلق بالفعل.
When Ustad was teaching Jumla Failure, he said that the jar majroor is a maf'ul and mudaf ilayh this constitutes as a maf'ul bihi category.
Not مفعول به, مفعول فيه, or you can call it ظرف.
Maf'ul fihi.
Yes.
Right.
So you can still classify it as متعلق بالفعل. You can still call it a ظرف, or you can call it مفعول فيه. Because the idea is it answers the question where. And here كل مذهب, basically every to every place or to every region or to every madhab. Madhab here does not mean the religious madhab. Here it just means it's a اسم مصدر. No, not اسم مصدر, what am I saying? It's مصدر ميمي, so which just means like places, to every place. Yes, Saima?
Sister, how you determine the fatha on kulla? Like
Okay.
it will be kulla, not kullu, or kullu.
So if it's a مفعول فيه, then obviously you understand where the fatha comes from, right? If it's a ظرف, you understand where the fatha comes from, because ظرف is always going to be fatha. So that's basically how. So is it a ظرف? So ظرف
Yeah.
is always
Yeah.
going to have a fatha on it. It's always going to be في محل نسب, or it's going to be mansub. Always. That's a ظرف. مفعول فيه, because it's a مفعول, it's always going to be also mansub or في محل نسب. So those already give it away. And يذهبوا, they go where? Everywhere. So you see it answers the question where. So you know, okay, this is the مفعول فيه. And that's how you know it gets a fatha.
Okay.
So يريد أن يطمئن إلى أنهم يقومون بمهمة هو. So this one, we'll come to the huwa at the end. Okay. So you see يريد, automatically what you think. Yeah. So we have a fi'l. And again, the fa'il, because we're talking about the same person that we've been talking about, shaitan. So we know the fi'il, the fa'il is the inside pronoun, huwa, referring back to shaitan. يريد أن يطمئن, it was itma'anna, yatma'innu, but because of an, again, you see how this structure is just everywhere. You can see the masdar mu'awwal is everywhere. Okay, so يريد, he wants. What does he want? He wants أن يطمئن, which means the structure is what?
Maf'ul.
Yeah, this is a مفعول به. Because what does he want? He wants to take comfort. He wants to be relaxed in the knowledge. You know, he wants to know that they are misguiding themselves. Yeah. إلى, so يطمئن إلى, it comes with that. So to take comfort in, إلى أنهم. So you see now, this is kind of where like Arabic gets a bit complicated. Because when you see إلى, what kind of harf is إلى?
Jar.
Yeah. So this is harf jar. And that means this whole thing that follows it after is going to be اسم مجرور. Yeah, and of course the whole thing is going to be a متعلق. So sometimes you can have like a whole paragraph that's just متعلق, jar majrur.
Sister, so sister, where, how we'll know where to put a full stop, like this majroor is getting end, like where, like it can stop at innahum also, and then yaqumu also, yaqumuna.
But it can't stop at innahum, because you have to ask annahum, sorry, you have to ask annahum ماذا. That's a mubtada. Where's the khabar? يقومون بمهمة هو. Then you go into, like, you have to break it, like we're going to break it right now, and you see. So you have to look for where the chain breaks.
Oh, the bucket system. Oh, okay.
Yes, you look at the buckets. So you put everything in one bucket. So where the bucket stops, that's where the sentence stops. So for example, here we have harf jar, and whatever comes after it is ism majroor. So we have annahum. Of course, this is mubtada. Anna, and it's ism. That's a mubtada. So whatever comes after it, the whole thing is going to be our khabar. Definitely. Then we enter inside the khabar. We have a jumla fi'liya. So we have يقومون is our fi'l. What is the fa'il? يقومون.
Whom?
Yeah. Whom. You can see the wow there. So whom is our fa'il. And then بمهمة. What kind of a structure is بمهمة?
Be حرف جر
Yeah.
متعلق بالفعل.
Yes. So these are متعلق بالفعل. Now, هو, this is another structure where it gets, well, it's a bit new, it's a bit different because we didn't really talk about it, but it's the same as this one. It's also a tawkid. Okay? It's just emphasizing. That's what it's doing. That he is relaxed, knowing that they are doing his important job. بمهمته, his job. Like people are doing Shaitan's job for him. It's supposed to be for him, huwa, but he's relaxed that, you know, people are misguiding themselves. So يطمئن إلى أنهم يقومون بمهمته هو. So بمهمته, this huwa goes back to that attached pronoun there. Yeah.
So would the huwa be, I'm confusing between aid and
So I,
so
most
the
of the time, you would get it in اسم موصول, صلة الموصول. Most of the time, that's when you expect عائد. In this case, we don't have any حرف موصول or اسم موصول. Sorry, not حرف, of course, but اسم موصول. There's no ما, there's no من. Yeah, there's no الذي. So in this case, we're not expecting عائد. Of course, the term عائد means just a pronoun that goes back to something previously. So if you look at it in that meaning, then we can say هو يعود إلى this ha that is attached. It goes back to that. But if you're talking about the concept of عائد in اسم موصول, then this is not. This is basically just emphasizing that it was his job. It was Shaitan's job, or his, you know, responsibility, and other people are doing it for him. His responsibility.
So if we look at it from the aid definition, that a pronoun going back to the subject of the sentence, then this could be called an aid.
Yeah, in that sense, yes, because it goes back
And
to
that would be the who in the
Muhimma.
Muhammad.
Yes,
Muhammad.
yes. That would be it. So we've we've actually spent almost an hour in just this paragraph. So I don't know.
State it also, please. Fahua,
Sorry?
from Fahua.
Fahua.
Yeah, this one. Above. Yeah, from here.
Here.
Can we just put it? Yeah. Like how now we'll put all the things together. Like
Okay.
in fail, the file should come first, then the fail, and then the this thing.
Yeah.
So then how the sense of the sentence.
Okay. So what you can do is you can actually translate it word for word initially, like do a literal translation, so that at least now you figured out the parts. So now you can do a literal translation. You can even say something like, let me try and type. So he, comma, يريد منهم المشاركة. So we said the whole thing basically all the way up to the full stop here. Oops. So if it will go all the way up to this is where we're going to go up to, okay? Up to that full stop. Let me try and type it. Okay. So he يريد منهم المشاركة. Again, so he wants from them المشاركة. You can say I don't want to say cooperation.
Participation.
Participation, yes. So he wants from them participation in أن يبتدعوا. So they gave us this word to generate. In, you can say generation or in to generate if you just want to translate like very literally, and then you can just pull out what doesn't make sense. In to generate what? Misguidance. Misguidance. And يذهب فيه. Of course, they gave us this translation. They go, I don't know what they said. يذهب فيه كل, take it in all sorts of directions. But if you were just to translate yourself, so you have to figure out the parts and go in it everywhere, something like that. So that's basically kind of what you would come up with. Then you read it and you realize it's not the best. So he wants, so you can say, okay, now let's remove one. So he wants from them participation. Or you can just say he wants participation from them. That makes more sense. Okay. In to generate doesn't make sense. So you're going to kill this in because, you know, musharaka fee, the musharaka comes with fee, so you don't have to translate the fee. So he wants participation from them to do what? To generate misguidance and go in it everywhere. Go in it everywhere doesn't sound, but sometimes fee doesn't have to be translated as in. So you can say with and go with it everywhere. Now you see it's starting to make sense.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
And one more thing, sister. I would like to translate this masdar movable. So, I think, Ustad, I don't remember properly. So, like sometimes we can like masdar can be translated two ways, like to go or going, like with ing or using the verb itself. So can you please clarify that? Like when to use what? When to use the fail of it, like the verb word for it? Like यहाँ पर it was an yadullu. So
yeah.
I'm
So
sorry.
basically just see what makes sense. Like in this case, if I was to get rid of to generate, it would be, so he wants participation from them generating misguidance. Does that make sense?
Generate.
To generating misguidance?
In
Generation?
general.
Yeah, so you see you have to put something. You have to put in generating. Yeah. So that's kind of just how you look at it. See what
That was actually my question. Like यहाँ पे we killed the fee na in the first part whenever we were translating it. So it's okay, like if it's making sense to, we can do either way, or
Yes.
like one specifically one needs to be get killed, like fee or either un.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it won't make sense in English to have to in or into. Like so if you're using in, then you would use the masdar now, generating or generation. But if you want to translate the an, you cannot translate the fi, kind of.
It's Maghrib time over here. I'll leave now, though I very wanted to continue, but the recording will be there, inshallah, right?
Yes, it's there. So in fact,
just
you know, we were supposed to do like half an hour of class 4 and half of class 5, but we've only done one paragraph of class 4 in 1 hour.
This really helps to understand. It just takes a lot longer because I think I'm at a very basic level, but it really does help to understand. And I think when we were doing it with the start, we were so concentrating on the Quran, but in this text, we can move things around. I think that's what we needed to understand.
Yeah. And you don't have to be very literal in your translation. As long as the meaning is captured, it's fine. And you don't have to translate every word the way Aratul says it. Like sometimes Aratul will give me a meaning and I'll be like, no, this does not fit at all. Then I'll just go look for variations of that word, synonyms of that word, and find the best one. So it's teaching us not to be very rigid in our understanding of the text, which I think is also important. Okay, so we only have 5 minutes left. I don't think we can be able to go into class 5 or another.
No, I don't think we should start. another
Yeah,
one.
we can't start.
But if we can assign a paragraph and we can come back after we've done our own analysis for tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Can we do the next para? The law jaa bimasdaril fa'ili.
Yes. Yes. That's good. I like that. Yeah. So you guys can go try and figure out now based on just what we do. Remember, break it down as much as possible. Like think of it very simplistically and hopefully inshallah it would make more sense. So yeah, you can do this for tomorrow.
Inshallah.
Okay. I think we can end there. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.